President Trump owes Zelensky an apology for the way he was treated.
For what?
I demand it.
Okay, where do we even start? We have a ton of new meltdowns surrounding the Zelensky, Donald Trump, and J.D. Vance meeting, and we have a Norwegian energy company refusing to give fuel to the U.S. Navy and Americans in general. So, before we start this video, please like the video. It's the #1 way you can help this channel, and it helps others see the videos as well. Let us begin.
You know, I'm just some simple Indiana boy, but when I watched this event today, I want to know why our ally is allowed to disrespect the United States of America, the leader, the current leader of this free world.
Okay, so you can leave your comments down below how you feel about this, but one of the big talking points we are still seeing is that Zelensky never really even gave an apology for how that meeting went, even though it's being reported that Zelensky wants to come back already to the White House to sign the deal.
But let me
Zelensky an apology. President Trump owes Zelensky an apology for the way he was treated.
For what?
I demand it.
What?
I demand that they give.
You demand. Okay, so UN resolution number 2.
If you're going to go ahead and say preposterous things like Zelensky owes an apology for being attacked, I'm going to go ahead and say something outrageous.
Alright, like I always do on this channel, I want to show you guys a statistic as to why so many Americans are very heated and having meltdowns around the exchange between Zelensky, Donald Trump, and J.D. Vance. I think you'll find this interesting.
Ukraine using U.S. weapons in Russia. Take a look here. 52% of Americans support that idea through the floor by 2024. Just 48% of Americans say that they're confident that Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs.
So as you can see, we have conflicting statistics, thus we have conflicting meltdowns. The majority of Americans, they do want to help Ukraine. However, a lot of Americans don't trust Zelensky. You can leave your comments down below how you feel about all of this.
The rare earth minerals deal with Ukraine. It creates a pathway for Ukraine to have American involvement and the security that comes with America's economic development in Ukraine.
The Trump administration believes that if Ukraine goes into business with the United States, that in and of itself is a security guarantee. If your interests become our interests, we're going to be interested in making sure our interests are secure. So it would have been wise for him to understand the economic deal, the mineral deal, is a security guarantee in and of itself. And he lost sight of that today in the argument premeditated.
Okay, you can leave your comments and opinions down below how you feel about all of this, but according to the Trump administration, this was going to be a pathway and implied there would be security with the United States if you are going to make a $500 billion economic deal, but according to Zelensky, he wanted more of a guarantee and he wanted Trump to pretty much say, I support Ukraine and not Russia.
I want to be very honest, I want really him to be more at our side. And of course, all the Ukrainians want to hear strong position of the United States on our side.
So again, remember, the statistics I showed you, the majority of Americans support Ukraine, but a lot of Americans don't support Zelensky. That is why we're getting a lot of heated back and forth meltdowns surrounding this topic. Okay, so check this out. The largest petrol company out of Norway, Haltback Bunkers, put out a statement saying, we have decided to immediately stop as fuel provider to American forces in Norway and their ships, calling Norwegian ports. No fuel to Americans. We encourage all Norwegians and Europeans to follow our example, Slava Ukraine. And it's being reported that the vessel that needed fuel was a U.S. Navy submarine. So, because of that meltdown, the Norwegian government put out an immediate response saying this is not in line with the Norwegian government's policy. Essentially, understand that petrol company is a private company, so they can do whatever they want. They can sell to whoever they want. However, because Norway is a NATO state, they have to make sure everything is a-okay with the United States. You can leave your comments down below how you feel about this situation.
We have never seen anything quite like what happened at the White House today.
Today, Donald Trump irreparably destroyed the 80-year-old post-World War II international order.
An Oval Office ambush of an American ally that will reverberate all around the world and stain America's image for years to come.
That was, to say the least,
the most contentious confrontation between world leaders perhaps we have ever seen, certainly on television.
All right, so that was from MSNBC. I think you can tell how they feel about this situation. However, there are some Democrats on TV who take the opposite stance and actually agree with a lot of Republicans. They are not happy with how Zelensky conducted himself.
We can help them in this and come out okay on the other side, and he's making it hard.
Now, first of all, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I actually agree with Scott. And everything that he said was basically right.
Wow.
I know, I'm going to get killed on social media for admitting that, but so be it. And the fact is that it doesn't matter whether Vice President Vance planned it or just took the opportunity to bait Zelensky. Zelensky took the bait. Okay, yeah. And he shouldn't have. He made a mistake.
So as you can see, Republicans and conservatives, they're split on whether or not we should be supporting Ukraine, but Democrats on this particular topic are also split on whether or not we should be supporting Zelensky, how he conducted himself in the Oval Office.
What's saying is that negotiating with one side, which is what the United States and Europe has done this entire time, not inviting Putin to the negotiating table, J.D. Vance was talking about that's how Donald Trump views diplomacy. It was Zelensky then who then turned to J.D. Vance and said, J.D., not Vice President Vance, J.D., to ask him a question. There wasn't a reason for him to ask J.D. Vance anything.
Now, I'm going to show you a statistic as to why a lot of Americans are still on the side of Zelensky here as far as not wanting Putin at the table, even though J.D. Vance said we would prefer to have Putin and Zelensky together as far as making a deal. That is how Donald Trump likes his diplomacy.
Americans don't trust Russia as far as they can throw them. I mean, my goodness gracious, favorable view of Russia. You go back to 2020, Kate, it's 28%. 2022 dropped to 15%. In 2024, just 8% of Americans hold a favorable view of Russia. To put this in context, about as many Americans believe that we faked the moon landing as have a favorable view of Russia.
Now, when it comes to all the statistics revolving around this conflict, that one right there is the most unified. The mass majority of Americans do not support Russia. So when you have Zelensky saying he wants Donald Trump to be more on our side, and you have the majority of Americans who support Ukraine, that is why we have such a divide and so many different meltdowns coming from so many different directions.
I've never seen anything like that in my entire life. What I saw is a complete transformation of what the United States is in the world.
Certainly was a day of shame for the United States. That clip, the footage of the Oval Office meeting, is going to be shown for years to come by politicians, government officials, historians, university professors, because it very clearly captures the moment when the Trump administration sent the signal that it was ceding America's traditional global leadership role.
And of course, that is MSNBC once again taking a very drastic stance. However, I do want to point out there does seem to be a little bit of gold at the end of the rainbow here, because straight from Zelensky, it's crucial for us to have President Trump's support. He wants to end war, but no one wants peace more than we do. We are the ones living this war in Ukraine. It's a fight for our freedom, for our very survival. So again, we're getting all of this straight from Zelensky. According to Zelensky, he does want peace. So when you're seeing all of these reports and European countries start to fall apart or not support the United States, you literally have Zelensky himself say, we need Donald Trump and we want peace. So I just wanted to show you guys there's at least some happy news in all of this.
Conservatives, Republicans at the time praised President Trump for having the courage to send those Javelin missiles to Ukraine to fight Russia. Was that a mistake?
They were in a defensive mode, not in an offensive mode, and that's a complete difference.
You think Ukraine is on the offense right now?
No, but those missiles are. That's what those missiles are for, is defensive moves, not for offensive.
Now, the reason why I showed you that clip is because a very common theme we are unfortunately seeing is not giving the full context as to why some people are cheering for Donald Trump and some people are not cheering for Donald Trump, or they're cheering for Zelensky. I'm going to show you this clip that gives you a little more context as to why people seem to be more upset with Zelensky surrounding this particular meeting and fallout.
So, Laura, I went all the way to Kyiv because I thought it was important. President Trump sent me there to, again, We were supposed to bring the Ukrainian people closer to the U.S. people. Instead, President Zelensky and I had a very tough 45-minute meeting at a very loud decibel level, and I kept telling him, Mr. President, the purpose of this is to show the Russians there is no daylight between us.
Look, it's not my job to sway your opinion. It's my job to give you guys the full picture and context. And when you have an American official who went all the way to Ukraine and is now telling the American public, I had my own meeting with Zelensky and it got very heated, you can see with the context, things start to change a little bit as to why maybe Donald Trump and JD Vance started to get in or start to go in on Zelensky a little bit. It just so happens it was made very public.
What became clear, and I think what has the president so frustrated and frankly angry, is that it's not clear that Zelensky truly wants to stop the fighting. And he came in, even though he was warned not to, determined to litigate all of that in front of the entire world. And the vice president said enough is enough. The president said enough is enough.
So look, we're starting to get more and more context and information. People talk to Zelensky. Zelensky's supporters literally told him, do not go in there and try to sway the deal or try to litigate something in front of the cameras. It might not work out. And that is why we're actually seeing a lot of people, and again, you can cross-reference this with the statistics, a lot of people are not too in favor with Zelensky as far as pulling that move off.
I can tell you that the vice president or the secretary of state or anybody else, they don't jump in, hijack a conversation without the express blessing of the president of the United States. So J.D. Vance did that deliberately.
Now, you can leave your comments down below because it's kind of hard to tell. I can't tell if more people are upset with Donald Trump or JD Vance as far as being too cruel to Zelensky. However, there was a protest on JD Vance's skiing trip with his family. Check out this clip.
He is recreating while thousands of people are losing their jobs, losing their health care, losing their funding.
This is a group of people who has always been supportive of standing with Ukraine. However, I think yesterday's performance at the White House has probably galvanized even more people to come out today.
Now, I think it's important to point out this particular protest was overall peaceful. However, JD Vance and his family, they were moved to an undisclosed location. But again, I do think it's important to point out, due to ridiculous circumstances throughout the United States, this protest was overall peaceful from the reports I'm reading.
I don't know if he needs an apology. He needs Zelensky to recognize the position that he's in.
Which to you is what?
We're their patron. We're their best hope for the killing to stop and for them to emerge from this sovereign and prosperous. And we're also their best hope as a business partner. I mean, all Zelensky had to do today was put on a tie, show up, smile, say thank you, sign the papers, and have lunch.
Now, if you are unaware, Joe Rogan and Elon Musk have really hyped up Scott Jennings, but that particular clip seems to be really the backbone of the Republican and conservative conversation. A lot of people are shocked, really, that Zelensky did not sign that agreement. We would be in a totally different situation. This would be a totally different video, and we would be one step closer to peace with Russia, but we are not there yet. A lot of Republicans and conservatives seem to be on board with Scott Jennings. All Zelensky had to do was wear a tie, sign that contract, and go get lunch.
On multiple levels and fronts, America has provided to Ukraine. And then this man shows up in the Oval Office and lectures us, says we have to do more, says we're not as good as Europe, says that we need to provide them a forever war guarantee, fight Russia till the end of time. No American watching that today says they want to send their sons and daughters to die on behalf of Zelensky. And President Trump was clear and firm and principled, saying either you're our partner for peace in ending this war, or we can't work with you.
Now, one thing I do want to point out, if you are unaware, the mass majority of European leaders, they do stand with Zelensky. However, the head of NATO, chief of NATO, did let Zelensky know you do need to try and work with the United States and go sign some sort of peace deal to get us one step closer in ending this conflict with Russia. However, a very common theme I'm seeing is over on the European side of things, you're not seeing too much support for Americans who don't support Ukraine. It's almost as if there's either a language barrier or a context barrier, but again, the overall or overwhelmingly majority of European leaders, they do support Zelensky with this particular conflict between Donald Trump and JD Vance.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
And as you guys know, the majority of the clips we are seeing are the actual fights or meltdowns between Zelensky, Donald Trump, and JD Vance. Anyway, if you are still watching this video, I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it and you got some value out of it. Thank you so much for being here. We have so much more work we still have to do. There's a lot of reporting going on every single day. God bless you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys later.